Fossil crisis? Better hurry. Call Dr. TJ. That number to call is 1-800-555-DINO. Once again, the number is 1-800-555-DINO. Better call now, because it's already too late. But even 4 out of 5 Darias recommend calling. But more importantly, let's try to de-extinct Daria. This talk concerns form and function, namely the Stegosaurus, and what are the functions of its plates. How would you reconstruct Stegosaurus and why? Stegosaurus lived during the late Jurassic time, 152 to 145 million years ago, in western North America. This plant eater had 2 rows of bony plates that alternated down its spine, and it was one of the top 3 largest stegosaurids. Typically about 6.5 meters long, but up to 9 meters, and around 3,000 to 5,000 kilograms. Or for all you Americans, that's up to 30 feet and 5.5 tons. It is about the size of an African bull elephant. An African bull, which is a male, ranges from 4,500 to 6,000 kilograms and 6 to 7.3 meters long. Big animal. The roof lizard, here's a mount at the Carnegie Museum, Stegosaurus. This is an ornithischian dinosaur, the so-called bird hip, as opposed to lizard hip dinosaurs, the saurischians. It's a plant eater. Big jaw muscles, had a good strong bite, as in a cow, could handle tough plants like the common cycads of the time. Did it live in solitary or small groups? There's some evidence it might have been in small groups. 4-spiked tail, called a thagomizer. Bony plates alternate along the top of the neck, back, and tail. Plates are embedded in the skin, they're not fixed to the vertebrae. The plates are mobile, there are no signs of muscle scars. Plates are quite large and thin, and they have pits and grooves on the sides, indicating lots of blood flow through them. Here's another mount, a 3D animation mount of Stegosaurus stenops. This is from the Natural History Museum in London. The specimen is from the late Jurassic of Wyoming in the United States. This was a youngster, small rhino size, a youngster. Fully grown, of course, as I said, bull elephant size, so it had little ways to grow. It's a very nearly complete skeleton. In fact, it's the most complete skeleton of Stegosaurus found so far. He's 5.5 meters long and about 1,600 kilograms. And size does matter. It affects almost everything in its life, how and how fast it can move, how much food it needs, and how it sizes up to other species as it grows from baby to adult, as well as its own kind during mating time. Not so much recently, but I've often heard the bony plates called armor. I've always thought this was wrong, and let's see if I can convince you. Imagine Allosaurus attacking. Where's it going to go? Where would you bite to kill or even kick and claw? Where are the vulnerable spots for predators' tooth and claw on Stegosaurus? How does a cat kill? Where do most predators attack? These plates protect the back of the skull and nape of the neck, where the brain and spinal cord are. They protect the bottom of the neck, where the windpipe and blood vessels to and from the brain lie. These plates protect the belly at all. There's all those yummy guts to eat. Nom nom. So, calling the plates armor has to be incorrect. There's Allosaurus, top, bottom of the neck, vulnerable spot. Belly, vulnerable. Top, not so much. Remember, the plates are fixed in the skin above the spine. They don't protect any vital regions. Just a flesh wound if they're trying to bite up there. And what would be the point? Just to tick them off? Or put your head near the thagomizer at the end of the tail. Neck plates are just too few and too small to be armor. And of course, placing armor on top is not too useful. In all stegosaurids, the spike's almost certainly more horizontal, not upright. It's not like a scorpion tail. Take a look at the skeleton. Imagine the tail swing up and down. What happens if it goes up? Well, those plates are in the way. The range of motion wouldn't be very good either. Got all long spines on top of the bottom of the vertebrae. So the greatest range of motion, therefore power, would have been swinging the tail side to side, as one would expect. And you might want this spikes to be aligned with side-to-side movement. So, if it were going up and down, what could it hurt? Allosaurus would have to stick his head way up there in the back of the tail just to be hit by the thagomizer. So, if you organize the thagomizer spikes at a low angle and swing the tail side to side, you could really inflict some damage. And swinging the tail greatly side to side as a weapon may explain why stegosaurids, of all the ornithischians, lack bony tendons in the back and tail. A lot of dinosaurs, like hadrosaurs, do this to stiffen the spine for more efficient upright locomotion. When you're moving your limbs, you want your vertebral column or your backbone to stay still. You don't want it swinging side to side like in a salamander. It's very inefficient. These are upright walkers like a mammal or a bird. There's another reconstruction of Stegosaurus, and that looks like a killer tail. The spikes oriented nearly horizontal. The spikes are nearly horizontal and point backwards, according to Carpenter in 1997. So if we look at the tail, 4 spikes in Stegosaurus, and the spikes are nearly horizontal as they come off the back of the tail. Here's the end of the Stegosaurus tail in a field jacket with the sediment all around and everything. When the base of a spike is aligned parallel to the tailbones, the spike projects to the side and backwards. This is what we find in articulated specimens in the ground, or in life position after death, if you prefer. There's the end of the tail in blue. Then we have the thagomizer. The one in the lower left is broken off or buried. Looks like maybe it's buried. In the 1990s, paleontologists informally adopted a joke named thagomizer for the 4-spiked tail after this Larson comic of 1982. If you don't read The Far Side, take it up. It's hilarious. And the caption is, now this end is called the thagomizer, after the late Thag Simmons. And the thagomizer makes a nice weapon. An Allosaurus tail has a partially healed puncture wound that fits a spike. So we have direct evidence as it being a defensive weapon. Stegosaurus stenop spikes were about 60 to 90 centimeters long, or 2 to 3 feet if you prefer. So far among stegosaurids, finds of spikes in life position show them oriented horizontally. They're never vertically oriented. And unfortunately, for some reason, this was done early, and a picture's worth 1,000 words. So why do they keep being drawn that way, or at least they used to be for decades and decades? Well, someone saw it that way once, and it just kind of sticks in the head. This happens a lot. When I was little, they'd show dinosaur books to like Brontosaurus in like 40 feet of water. But if it were standing at the bottom, the weight of the water would make lung inflation impossible. There's no way it could get air. And then there are trackways. I think they described the early 70s out in Texas. Sauropod is walking along into the river, and you see the footprints on the back end disappear. It's floating. And then you see a few scratch marks from it dog paddling of the front legs. So most animals are just about float. We're mostly made of water. So if you throw someone in the water, like a dog or somebody, they're going to just about float. And if they paddle, they can swim. That's how most vertebrates are. Not all of them, but most of the land vertebrates do fine swimming. And with the sauropod being a plant eater, all that fermentation produces a lot of gas. You don't want to hang out the back end of a sauropod. There's going to be some big poops and a lot of gas coming out. So they're like little helium balloons inside their body. Of course they float. They're probably really good at swimming because they float so well. Dog paddling is easy for them. Some dogs kind of struggle to keep their head up above the water line. Anyway, that's the end of part 1 of 4. TJ Specta's Fossil Fun, and of course, meow.